What do you think makes a good mentor, Randy? You've probably seen this in a lot of the clients that you've worked with. We often think that it's the most experienced driver or the person that's been around the longest, or but I've seen a lot of companies try to do formal mentoring programs, and I'm not sure that works. When I think of all of the mentors that I've had throughout my career, they've always been people that I've either just looked up to or friends, or I enjoy being around their company and or liked what they were doing with their career and tried to kind of model that. Do you find the formal First of all, who do you think makes a good mentor? And then do you find that the formal programs work?
Well, first of all, this actually comes back to what we were just speaking about. A mentor, anybody that you want to be a mentor, anybody that wants to be a mentor, they got to have a good attitude.
Yeah.
Like because it's not an easy role, right? Like it's you got to be wanting, willing to help somebody out. You got to be support them, maybe you want to be a point of contact for them throughout their career, perhaps. Like if, a mentor, first of all, it's got to be something that they want to do and they have to have patience. They got to be able to support these drivers and they should be also willing to learn because honestly, like if everybody gets a little bit stale. I don't want to say that, but that's what comes to mind. So even a mentor, they could have 5 years of experience, but a mentor should always be willing to take a little bit of training and upgrade themselves and evaluate their skills so they can also, so someone else can identify some gaps because it happens to all of us. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing something. As a matter of fact, I think the longer you've been doing something without any, refresher in between, you could be teaching incorrect information. So as a mentor, there's no formal a mentor program, I think, can be tailored to every company's needs, to be honest with you. It should be, your mentor and your mentee should both be assessed. Your mentor should be willing to help. They should have a certain amount of skills so they could pass that down. Maybe they need to have 3 years or more experience. If they have a good abstract, that helps. But again, if a mentor has a great attitude, that is a good starting point because that means they're willing to help and be patient and coach and they're also willing to learn. So I would say it can be anywhere from a month to 2 months, but I work with companies like TCMS, and they can tailor it depending on the needs of the carrier. But every mentor program is a little bit different. But first, start off with somebody who's willing to do that and that has some experience. If they have a good attitude, I think that's a good starting point. And then depending on the amount of experience for the mentee that you're willing to help out will dictate the length of the program. And it should be a graduated process, right? So there's probably an initial assessment of both mentor and mentee. Perhaps they'll train for, daily with some monitoring. There should be some monitoring so you can see the progress improve as time passes. And then another evaluation. And it'll kind of be a graduated process where you would hope that you see an improvement. And if you do, then perhaps that's a good mentor program. And perhaps that mentor is also valuable to your company. And you can kind of build off of that. And you can always bring in someone else. But a good starting place is experience, a great attitude, a willingness to help, be patient, and not, like in a good mental frame of mind as well. Absolutely. So again, it ties back to our previous topics.
What if I'm asked as the person who's going to be the mentor, what should I look for? Like, I mean, I'm the kind of person I like to help a lot of people, but that can also get you into trouble. Whereas, okay, yeah, I said I would help, but now they're calling me every 5 minutes of the day, and I don't really have that kind of time. I mean, it's different if you're a paid coach and that's your job, you're a trainer or something like that. That's different. You're supposed to, and that's what you're there for. But a mentor might actually have their own job and they're just kind of guiding someone once in a while. Or so if I'm asked to be a mentor, and my company comes to me and says, "Hey, you know what? You'd be a good mentor for this." What should I be looking for? Should I be putting guidelines in and saying, okay, I'm only taking 2 calls a week, or maybe what are your thoughts on that, just in general?
Well, the mentor as well. Yes, absolutely. We have to respect each other's time. People have families and they need time for themselves. So 100%. So a mentor, I guess it would come down to, does the company want them to be, focused on mentoring full time or just once in a while? And depending on the workload that the company also gives them outside of mentoring, that should be factored into the amount of availability they have to mentor. So they don't necessarily again, so if it's a 60-hour work week, let's say, for example, how much of that is going towards what they do and how much of about how much of that will get allocated to mentoring? And then there should be some kind of respect between the mentor and the mentee. I think once they work together, maybe they form a little bit of understanding. I mean, maybe the mentee is calling them a little bit a lot, but they kind of have to set that tone a little bit without coming across too harsh. So it's kind of like based on the individual. It might be hard to set certain guidelines because maybe some mentors can take a couple more calls than others. But yes, you still have to focus on what you're doing. If the obligation is that you still have a certain amount of work that you have to complete for that carrier weekly, that factored in with your mentoring, and then kind of find a way to balance it, right? So you're not overburdened. A carrier should want the mentor to enjoy it because that's how you have successful mentoring.
Yeah.
So the guidelines kind of have to be set, based on I guess the expectations from each individual, and we should, respect each other's time, right?
Do mentors usually get paid for that? I've every time I've mentored someone, I've never actually been paid for it. I haven't asked. I don't know. It's never been a formal style. It's been someone came on and hey, I showed them where the windshield washer is, and then after a while, you kind of became friends and you run down the road together and you share. How do you get into this customer or what do you do here? And you're kind of mentoring, but you're not really mentoring. You're just kind of being a buddy. And I don't know. Since this formal things come out, a lot of people are going, well, sounds like I should be paid. I'm doing a lot more work or have a lot more expertise, but where does that cross the line into you're now a trainer? And for companies, they don't want to say that because now that's an extra salary on their books. And I think that's why mentoring is such a gray area for that. Should I be expecting some extra pay if I agree to mentor people, or if it's friendship style, then maybe we just let it go and see where it goes. But
Well, I think the company has to think about that because the mentor is correct. If they're doing a little bit extra and they're helping out, then there should be some compensation factored in because usually when you're doing some mentoring, like I haven't got into the pay grade details of it, but certainly we could with any of the companies we do the mentoring with, but that should be factored. Like being a buddy is great. Yeah, we want to help each other. I get it. But if someone feels like they're going a little bit out of the way, maybe they're doing some more hours. I think they should consider that in their compensation because at the end of the day, you're mentoring to also, bring more people into the industry. So the mentee may not necessarily earn what a driver who doesn't go through a mentor program starts with. So, maybe what this person doesn't earn, maybe some of that. But I think some costs should be factored and we should be fair with each other's time and also look at, the cost benefit of mentoring some drivers. So there might be some benefits in doing that because they wouldn't start off what a driver that comes in with good experience probably would. So I think carriers could consider that into their compensation should be something they should think about and try to find a way to make that work and have the discussion with the mentors and the expectations I think out front before any of it starts so that way the program I think will run a little bit smoother because there's